the Xs Noize Podcast with Mark Millar.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 39 of the Xs Noize Music Podcast. Thanks for downloading. I'm your host, my name is Mark Millar, and this week my guest is Alice Merton. We will be talking about her amazing new single Vertigo, how she started in music, and being a judge on the German version of The Voice, and much more. If you missed last week's episode, I was joined by New Order's Phil Cunningham. We talked about the band's latest release, education, entertainment, recreation, live at Alexandra Palace. So check it out. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, and all the usual streaming services. If you want up-to-date music news, album reviews and interviews, then check out our main website at xsnoize.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Here's Xs Noize writer Dan Lynch with some highlights of what's on the website this week.
Happy Mondays frontman Sean Ryder has announced a new solo album to be released in August, with 2 singles coming between now and then. Apparently, Sean was spring cleaning and found an unreleased album down the back of the sofa. He's called it Visits from Future Technology. Rising Irish hip-hop duo Tebby Rex have teamed up with indie pop artist Roe for a new single called Hanging with Trees. Tebby Rex have already played this year's Eurosonic and South by Southwest festivals and are promising tour dates for Ireland and beyond soon. You can watch the video for Hanging with Trees on the website. And Royal Blood are back with a new album, Typhoons. It gets a 7 out of 10 mark from us. While it doesn't hit the heights of the band's first 2 albums, the introduction of disco vibes takes the duo in a new direction. Read the full review at xsnoize.com.
Alice Merton was born in Frankfurt and raised in the USA, England and Canada. Her breakthrough track, No Roots, topped the Billboard rock chart, exceeding 400 million streams and shot to the top 10 all across Europe. Alice Merton's recent single Vertigo exceeded with 680,000 streams worldwide after only 5 days. So sit back, relax and enjoy the Xs Noize Music Podcast with Alice Merton. How's it going, Alice?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. So are you glad the world is finally finding a way out of lockdown?
Germany's definitely going into another lockdown, so we're not really getting out of it. We're kind of going into it. I wanted to go to a shop today, and it just didn't work because you needed a negative test, and you also need to make appointments now to go into any kind of shop.
Wow. I didn't know that. I thought everywhere was just sort of, winding down and getting out of it all.
Nope, not here.
Are you completely in lockdown now?
Yeah. You're not allowed leaving the house as of 8 or 9 o'clock, I think. Otherwise, you pay a fine. You're not allowed being on the streets. They've now canceled all events as of 100 people until end of June. Outdoors, wow. Not indoor, outdoor events, even with masks. So it's pretty crazy here. Germany's I don't want to get mad at Germany, but it's just very confusing.
So how you getting the days in? What are you getting up to?
What am I getting up to? That's a very good question. Well, I've been writing quite a bit. I've been trying to just write music, and I've been baking, cooking. Although I have to admit, I have days where I just don't really know what to do. I mean, it's been great to finally release music and make a music video and make a plan of okay, what songs do I want to put out, and talk to my label and have contact again with a few people, but it's not an easy time for people in the music industry or in general, just a lot of anyone in a restaurant business or the list goes on, So yeah. How's it in Northern Ireland? How's the lockdown going there? Is it loosening up?
Yeah. Bit by bit, step by step. Yeah. Pubs, and I think at the end of the month, pubs will be open.
That's amazing.
Yeah. There's gigs being planned, but which we'll talk about. But yeah, it's okay.
It's better than here.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I just thought the whole world was just lifting out of lockdown. But you were born in Frankfurt, raised in the USA, England, and Canada. So is Germany home for you now?
It's hard to say. It's definitely a home that I have, but I think honestly, I feel at home wherever I'm with family or friends. So I mean, my parents live in the UK, so I feel at home there. I have a British passport, so technically then I'm British, but it feels weird because I don't have a British accent and I grew up in Canada. Um, and I now live in Germany, but yeah, and like my cousins all live in Ireland. So it's wherever my family and friends are.
And growing up, what music were you into? Were you into bands, or what was the first sort of music that you really liked?
I mean, I don't know if it's like a cool answer, but the music that I was kind of introduced to when I was younger was, first of all, like classical music. But then if it wasn't classical, it was kind of 80s music. So it was either like Queen or Alan Parsons.
Good
Or a
choices.
lot of musicals, ABBA, like, yeah, there's a lot of musicals, West Side Story. That's kind of what I grew up with.
And when did music become such a significant thing in your life? When did you decide that you wanted to do music as a career?
I was quite young. I was really young when I decided I wanted to do music, but I never thought I would be a songwriter. Like I didn't even know I could write songs until I was like 17 or 18, where I picked up a guitar and just for the fun of it, like wrote songs. But I'd been playing piano for such a long time and taking singing lessons. So I thought I was going to go into more of like a classical direction rather than creating something of my own, which turned out to be so much more fun.
And when you started writing songs, what was the first song you wrote that you thought this is a really good song?
I mean, back then I thought it was a good song. Now looking back, I'm like, oh gosh, that's awful. But it was called The Frog Song.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were the lyrics? Can you remember?
I can. I just don't know if I'm ready to share this. It was, I mean, I was 17 and I probably was trying to find my first love, and the song went, how many frogs does a girl have to kiss so she can finally find her charming prince?
Okay, maybe that'll end up on an extra track on one of their albums, or talking about amazing tracks. Actually, your breakthrough track reached top the Billboard rock chart and shot to the top 10 across Europe with thousands and thousands, millions of streams. How did that feel?
I mean, it was incredible. It was so cool. I honestly don't really know how it happened. I think the song just kind of had a mind of its own. It grew and grew, and it was great that people related to it. And it was so cool to just like, there's not that many female artists in kind of alternative rock, I have a feeling sometimes. And so to be recognized for that was really, really cool. And and I was honored.
And your first new music, the first track you've released since your debut album Mint, is Vertigo. It's a fantastic track. And again, it's had already thousands of streams. The song is based on an experience you had. What happened?
So this was pre-COVID. I was about to go into a club. It was a friend's birthday, and I started feeling very nauseous and dizzy before we even got in, and I excused myself and went home, basically. So not a very exciting story. But then 3 weeks later, I flew to Canada, was talking to this producer, Cause, about Berlin clubs and how they're very different from like normal clubs. And we kind of talked about this feeling of vertigo. And we thought it would be funny to kind of write it out of the perspective of if I had gone in and seen all these weird creatures and really kind of felt so out of place, like this, like almost an alien in this world that you just feel like you don't belong in. Because that's how I kind of feel when I go to a club. Like part of me, because I don't really drink. So right. I'm just kind of soberly, like if the music's great, then it's fine. But I get very claustrophobic, lots of people around. It's very dark, and it's like people smoke in clubs here in Berlin. And it's just, I don't know, you can't really see what's in front of you or what's behind you. So yeah, that was the experience.
And it also inspired the Mad Max style video. Did you have a good time making it?
Oh my God, the best time. It was freezing cold, but it was so cool.
And when you're writing songs, sometimes would you have ideas for videos in mind, or do you just leave that to the directors when they're done?
No, all the time. I think for every song I have initially a visual of like what the vibe is going to be. I knew for Vertigo it was going to be dark. I knew it was going to be either like an abandoned club scene or just some kind of underground, delusional, dystopian, weird world where you just don't feel like you belong. Like you're an organism that's just almost like a virus kind of, and you're like new here and you're like, okay, I have no idea who these people are, but kind of I belong to them, but I don't belong to them. So it was so cool though to kind of just then work with a director who then like finalized the thoughts and then elaborated everything and said, you know what, let's try this. Like after our first meeting, she had this idea. She's like, okay, what are your thoughts on the beginning scene is you and you're licking a scorpion? And I was like, oh, sorry, is it called a Scorpio or a scorpion? I always forget.
Scorpion,
yeah. It's
scorpion.
And I was just like, part of me was like, this is so cool. And then the other part of me was like, no, we're not doing this. So it was, I loved it. I loved every part of it.
Yeah, it's an amazing video, and it's rare that you get videos like that these days, you know, with a lot of effort put into it, you know.
Very true.
And the tracks, as I said, it's your first new music since your debut album, Mint, which was released in 2019. Are you working on a new album?
I am indeed working on an album. I can't say though when it's going to be out. There's no, it's kind of too secretive at the moment. I want to keep that to myself, and I want to also figure out like people don't really listen to full, or not. The majority of people doesn't listen to a full album. It's more like you discover songs in a playlist, and I really want people to discover the songs. So I'm kind of going to work song by song and then put out the album once I've put out the songs that I think are important for the album. Where I'm like, I want you guys to listen to these, and now you guys get the album, you know?
Yeah, good idea. Is it coming along well then?
I think so. I mean, it's a process, you know, like you've got days where you feel motivated and you've got days where you're not motivated, and you've got days where you think you wrote a great song and then half a year later you're like, nah, this sucks. And then like 5 days later you're like, no, it's actually really good. So it's honestly just like an up and down kind of roller coaster with your own self. You
release music on your own label, Paper Planes Records.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to start your own label rather than go with a major label or another independent?
No one really wanted to. I mean, there were a few people interested, and I was just so sick and tired of these maybes. Like, yeah, we're really interested, but let's, you know, just stay on it and see what happens in the next year. And maybe she works with this person. Like I had finished an EP. I had finished like everything. I was like, this is the package, take it or to leave it. And most people were like, they left it, or they had like these conditions. And I am not someone who's like, okay, I will, what's the English saying? In German, you say, ich komme euch entgegen. And in English, you say, we'll meet in the middle. And I'm not someone who kind of, it's not easy for me to do that if it's about music, because I'm like, this is so personal. I spent time thinking of how I want it to sound. So live with it. and I think for a lot of people, that's not easy to do. So I was very lucky that my like best friend also studied at my university, and we were like, okay, let's just start a label and put it out on SoundCloud and like promote it to how we can and see what happens.
And it's worked out not too bad.
It hasn't. No, it's been a great experience. Honestly, I've learned so much. It was great to keep the rights. I learned that labels actually do earn, like they can earn quite a bit of money with like keeping rights of songs. And I also learned that, that I can be creative and now be free with that as well. Like I don't have to obey anyone's rules.
Out of all the songs that you've written, which song has the most meaning to you?
I mean, No Roots is like my story, you know? No Roots is my beginning, my middle, my end, kind of. Well, maybe not the end. But I think I'm always attached to the newest song. So Vertigo is probably also an important one for me, because I've like battled with that feeling for so long, for like before every concert, before I go on a plane, before I enter crowded small rooms. And I wanted to share that with people.
When does that feeling leave you? Whenever you're on stage?
Sometimes it never does. And then towards the 6th song, maybe I get more like I can become focused and I'll be like, okay, I'm enjoying this. But it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better. I went to a therapy for 2020 to help kind of work on that, because I just couldn't go on a stage anymore without just having a panic attack. So I'm lucky that I kind of got that under control.
You've worked with Tom Odell and AWOL Nation. How did those collaborations come about?
Honestly, they just kind of asked, like they'd heard my songs, they'd heard my voice. They're like, hey, we love your voice. Would you want to like collaborate? And I was fans of both of them. Like they're two very different artists, but I was like I've been a fan of Tom Odell ever since he released his EP back then. And AWOL Nation I've loved since, I love their song Run. Like obviously like the biggest one they have, Sail. So I've been huge fans of both of them. And so it was just an honor.
Good experience working with other artists.
Definitely. I mean, I got to actually like work with Tom with AWOL Nation because it happened during COVID. I never actually got to like be with them one-on-one and see like work with them. It was kind of just like, okay, this is what we'll do, and we'll do it all online, which was fun as well. But I'd like when travel opens up again, I'd love to actually work on him with on a song with him.
Who would be your dream collaboration?
That's a really good question. I always used to say the Killers because I was always such a big Killers fan. But I feel like my dream collaboration would probably be with Regina Spektor.
Yeah, that would be good. You were coaching the German version of The Voice, and your contestant won. I think it was the first time in 9 seasons that a female coach had the winning contestant. You must have been very, very pleased.
I was pleased. I came, I won, I left. I know it was so much fun. Claudia, who sang, is such a great singer, and it was lovely to have like a women's team that won for the first time in like 9 years. So yeah, it was so much fun. I needed though to take the time for myself and work on music, and I just feel like I'm too young, kind of, and I'm too not inexperienced, but I feel like I've got so much that I still want to do with music before I go on a casting show and be a judge.
Do you think shows like The Voice and The X Factor are a good way for artists to break into the music business?
I think they can be, yes. I mean, I think it depends a lot on you, though. I think it's a good way of getting exposure, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is how much you want it, like how much are you willing or prepared to do for it. And the problem is we don't always see the personalities. Like I feel like when you want to be an artist or when you want to put out music, it's often the person behind it as well that you kind of connect with. And with these casting shows, it's not always easy to do that.
If everything goes well, as far as I'm aware, you're due to play live shows this summer.
Yes, we're due to play a few live shows, hopefully.
Yeah. How much are you looking forward to getting back on the road?
So much. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to finally play a show.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
I imagine that like the first gig, everybody's just going to go crazy.
Everyone's going to go mental. I'm going to be crying the whole time. I won't even be able to like finish a full song without just crying in between.
I like to ask my guests the following questions.
Okay.
Out of all the music in your collection, which artist or band do you have the most albums by?
The Killers.
Good choice. What have you been listening to recently that you could recommend?
What have I been listening to? I've been listening to Shy Away from 21 Pilots. It's been a really cool song. I've been listening to the whole Lana Del Rey album she just put out. Chemtrails Over a Country Club was a single, and it's beautiful. I listened to a lot of Harry Styles' album, the last one. I thought that was great. I've been listening to so many different things. But yeah, those would be the main things I've been listening to.
And last one, which artist or band would be your guilty pleasure?
This question I always have difficulties with because I don't think I have a guilty pleasure when it comes to music. Like I enjoy listening to all different kinds of music without feeling guilty about it. So I'm just going to say, what's my guilty pleasure band? Probably ABBA.
Well, ABBA are cool, like,
I love ABBA.
You know something? A lot of people say ABBA.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So if everything goes well, what's next in the immediate future for you?
I mean, if everything goes well, hopefully just playing concerts, to be honest, and being back on the road and putting out other singles and just hoping that life goes back to normal at some stage.
Yeah. And hopefully an album very soon, within the next year or so. Fingers crossed.
I'm not going to say any dates, but an album is definitely on the way. So
good. Well, Alice, that's my questions finished. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And enjoying everything you're doing. So keep it going. And again, look forward to the new album that's coming. So
thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the day or night or whatever. What time is it there?
It's I think it's 8. What time is it? It's 8:30 here.
Oh, right. You're like an hour ahead.
We're an hour ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
have a
listen.
good rest of your day or evening, and stay safe, take care, and
Yes.
I'll talk to you again soon, maybe for the album.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll
Awesome.
sort that out.
Okay. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
The Xs Noize Podcast with Mark Millar.